I've about 4 or 5 cups of coffee, not copy, because I've got my buddy Brent here today. And if you've seen Brent in the interviews before, there's a lot of energy. And we've got another guest with Brent, Shawnah Kucken. So I'm excited to welcome both you guys to the show. Shawnah, Brent, welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having us again.
What we're going to dive into today is, I've interviewed Brent a couple of times. And Brent's been very successful with his social media presence, and that's translated into success with his recruiting firm. But we're going to tell his story and tell Shawnah's story about how, they've been able to both kind of create some synergy with their social media presence to even enhance the brand further. So I know a lot of you out there that are watching, you may start doing social media or trying to figure out how you can get your team on board. This is going to be an incredible interview for you guys to watch. So before we dive into all that stuff, Brent, can you just give a quick little background and high-level overview of the company and your journey?
Yeah, so again, here in Scottsdale, I've been doing recruiting for 20 years. The last 12, very, very niche specific. So we solely focus within the freight and logistics industry, which right now is just a complete skyrocket. That thing is just blowing up, right? So 7 years ago, started the recruiting firm, Pinnacle Growth Advisors, from nothing, literally as a solopreneur, one person, one-man band out of a bedroom. And then we've been able to kind of grow and scale through there. So we've almost doubled every single year since inception. And we just came off our biggest quarter ever. And it's March 12th. And so this is going to be hands down the biggest year. We'll probably double again what we did in 20.
That's super exciting, man. That's super exciting. And Shawnah, just a little bit background of you. I know you had a logistics background before Brent, but tell us your story.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in logistics about a decade. I pretty much have done it all aside from just selling freight. I started in a corporate back office staff, and I kind of decided, this is not really where I wanted to be. And I had a passion for relationships and building relationships with people. And so I had an opportunity to kind of move to the front side of business. And I just absolutely fell in love with recruiting and marketing, definitely where my passion is. Made the transition then to obviously joining up with Brent and now doing this out on my own. And it's definitely been an exciting ride.
Awesome. And if you guys don't mind, we kind of chatted a little bit about the story of how the relationship evolved, and kind of, it wasn't, I don't want to say natural, maybe it just happened. You guys mind sharing a little bit how you guys ended up connecting?
Yeah, I think it's a very interesting story. So, just being local and being in the industry, you kind of know who the players are, especially in your backyard. And Shawnah was just kind of always someone that was here working at a local company. It kind of was on my always radar. I probably hit her up, 3 or 4 times. And like a normal candidate, she shooed me away. And then this was maybe back in 2019, I think. And I had finally got her to meet me. I said, just meet me for coffee. I know what you do. There's a company that I think would want your services, if you will. And we had met at that time. I had actually helped her make a transition, to be honest with you. Fast forward, that company that she previously worked at came after her pretty hot and heavy, to the point with a non-compete or whatever they want to define it as, forced the company she went to fire her.
Wow.
And it was tough. I mean, and I remember us having those conversations, and there was probably part of me that kind of felt guilty, right? Finally kind of oh my gosh, I did not foresee that playing out that way.
Right.
And I remember us just having a conversation because we had kind of built a relationship at that point. And I'm like, Shawnah, don't stress. I'm building this thing out. There's so much momentum. Let's just kind of, partner up for a minute and see where this goes. And then here we are now. And sky's the limit. She is unbelievable. Her work ethic, her skill set, where she has gone from where she started is something I couldn't even dream. So it's really, really become a good partnership.
That's awesome. Shawnah, what's your version?
So obviously all of that, but no, I think that, I was obviously meant to leave, right? And so maybe that just wasn't why I was meant to leave. And this really was, because truly, I feel like I have really just come into my own. I knew, like I said, I had built a passion for recruiting and relationship building and marketing, but I don't want to say I was handcuffed. But when you're working just for one brand, you can really only do so much. You're limited, right? And so I had a lot of ideas. I had literally built out an entire business plan that I was like, let me do this. I wasn't able to. Now I'm able to do whatever I want, and it's most definitely worked out. I think that we've just really come together on all of the ideas that both he's had and that I've had, and it's just, we've collaborated really well.
Yeah, no, and I've talked with Brent. We've been buddies for a couple of years now, and I've always been watching him. But I knew right away once you joined, you caught my attention, right away with like how much he was allowing you to kind of show up with social media, and like you guys have this parallel going. And that was what really motivated me to reach back out to Brent, was like, man, what do you guys got going on? Because she's playing as hard as you are. And I think that's obviously, it's a dangerous combination you guys got going right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What were, is your main function, Shawnah, is it social media purpose? Is that what you're doing for the business, or what else are you doing besides that?
So I am full on recruiting as well. So, I mean, I do pretty much almost as the exact same thing as Brent, so to speak.
Yeah.
I'm out there, I'm building relationships on the client side. I'm building relationships on the candidate side. I'm doing obviously all things social media, have some other things in the social selling realm that are in the works. But yeah, I mean, pretty much everything that he's doing, I'm doing as well.
Right. So Brent, when you brought Shawnah on, like, was the main motivation for you the social media side of it? Or was it just like, hey, let's bring her on as a part of the team, and then you just landed on gold kind of?
I think we didn't really have a plan initially. To be honest with you, I mean, I was just more like just trying to be like, hey, let's just kind of align together, let's partner together, and we'll figure this journey out. And it just kind of has, a lot of it has happened organically, right? Like the social media dynamic, she has that dialed in. I knew that she knew it. Again, a lot of people, when they come from a corporate environment, they're not embraced enough to be like, hey, just go out there and build your brand and be yourself. Companies still have so much hesitation allowing their people to do that, which blows my mind, right? Because what better thing to draw people in than by showcasing what you have in your own people? Yeah. And so for me, I was like, do your thing, like get out there. I even tell her more. I'm like, more, right? Because a quote that we always use is, how are you feeding the machine? How are you feeding Pinnacle, yourself, like all these various parts? So for me, doing things like this, doing the podcast, that's going to lead to speaking events for myself, right? That's going to become an authority figure within my niche, which in turn is going to lead to business development. And that's how I feed the machine. Right. For her, putting herself out there and becoming a brand, becoming a known commodity within the news feed and the industry we play in, that's going to draw candidates into her, right? Which also has led to business development on her own front. So absolutely. Again, feeding the machine, and everyone does it their own way. But for us, it's just, I mean, we are pretty well known within our niche, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. I can see that. Shawnah, what was it like for you going from, you mentioned it, kind of not handcuffed, but you're being in corporate, you're kind of, they don't want you out there. I mean, what was that like? What's your journey been like, where it's like, hey, go have fun?
I thought I was going to be a lot more scared and nervous than what I was. I think I'm just also lucky to have a person like Brent in my corner. I mean, obviously I've seen what he's built over the years. So I did feel a little bit more confident with that, especially with him being the leader in this space. I was like, all right, I'm more than confident in my own abilities. So I feel like I feel more comfortable doing that with him probably than with anyone else. But I think that, I mean, it's just, I have grown so much, not only professionally, but even personally from being able to do this. And I think I'm a single mom. And so this is something that has really just benefited me in all areas of my life. I have the flexibility that I need with my daughter. I'm showing her what it's like to be a strong leader and to be independent and a business owner and all of these different things. So I feel like I've grown. I went from here to like here, just in this last year, which is so cool.
That's awesome.
And I'll tell you this too, Donnie, like, that I've been doing videos for a couple of years. She didn't have a choice. Like hey, we're going, don't screw it up. We're doing one take or it doesn't count. And so I think just even putting people into that situation where maybe they get a little uncomfortable, but that confidence can come out, and it can come out quick. So that's really the main reason that I think we have aligned so well together, is because I put her into the fire, so to say. I'm like, Shawnah, you're coming with me. I grab your hand and let's go. So now, we're co-hosting LinkedIn Lives together. We do all these videos. We have a very good yin and yang, but it wasn't like that right off the bat. I just don't think she had a choice, and here we are. So she's catapulted, and it became who you are, and like that's the identity that we have together.
Yeah. I think though that is how I've always done best in life. I do way better in high pressure situations. I just have that grit about me just from, growing up the way that I did, and just kind of always come through my work ethic. And so putting me in that situation definitely is the reason why I was like, all right, let's go.
Right. So
I also think, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I also think that my background being so heavily in logistics is something that really has helped me get to where I'm at, just because I do have a great understanding of almost all areas of logistics, which has also helped me build relationships through this last decade too.
Right, right. So did you ever shoot like a marketing video prior to working with Brent?
So kind of, I did a little more behind the scenes. So actually, back in my Global Trans days, I was in charge the last couple of years there of all things marketing having to do with the freight agent program. So anything that you saw put out there, gosh, for years, I feel like came from me. And so I did a lot of behind the scenes of videoing for the agent testimonials and different employees, things like that. But I personally was never on camera. I did do like our agent conferences and things like that, but that was really it.
Right.
And so, she's really good, which is even more impressive.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I thought that you kind of plucked her as a video marketer, and
no, it just kind of happened
in the last 11 months.
You bring these people along with you. I mean, it's like, look, Donnie, you and I have talked enough. You know my energy. It's hard to be in the same room as me and not bring it, right? So as a leader, people go as you go, right? So when you're at an 8, when you're at a 10 all day long, they have no choice. They can't be at a 2 or 3. So again, she's just raised the bar as far as that go. And it pushes me to be more outgoing and more confident and all those things too. So again, it's just a really good balance in yin and yang that we have.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. What were some of the challenges, Shawnah, like as Brent started saying, hey, okay, we're gonna throw you to the fire here. Like what was going on internally? Like what were some of the mental things that you had to overcome?
You know, I really was nervous at first to get in front of people with the camera. So I am like, no one would probably ever guess this in a million years, but I had the worst social anxiety ever when I was growing up. And I still, on occasion, with like really large crowds, I get a little anxious, but I was that person in school. Like if you had to do your report in front of the entire class, I would be sick that day. I would like make sure that like, I'm serious. Public speaking was not my thing. So overcoming that fear was probably like the biggest thing for me, but social media makes it easier because really I am actually not having these thousands of faces in front of me right now. Right. It's just me or just me and him or us here on this live. I don't see the faces, and I think that makes it a little easier for me.
No, you should see them on my end. They're all laughing. No, I'm just kidding.
But you know, and here's the other thing too, Donnie. You and I have talked about this. Confidence comes from competence, right? And so when you have that confidence, not only about your industry and your niche and what you can provide to the marketplace, that translates into who you are.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's been the biggest thing is that once again, these kind of handcuffs came off. She's like, you know what? I can do this. I know who I am. I know I'm really good at this. Right. And that we exude that energy, right? Which draws people into us. But for as much smack as we talk, we back it up.
Yeah.
We really do. And that starts with the work ethic, because you and I talked about that too, where, you know, when you start putting these titles and these headers out there, you better be able to back up who you say you are. And I know that we do that through our work ethic.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I think it's the thing that's really inspiring to me as I listen to your guys' story here is, and I go back to it is how, you know, Brent, you being the face, but bringing somebody onto the team to be able to get, you know, do this, because I know it's a challenge, you know, for other people to put themselves out there. And especially when it's not their own brand, so to speak. And I know you guys are partnered up, but, you know, I think that's really cool how you guys have been able to, you know, get this kind of synergy you have going. I mean, you guys actually, do you spend time strategizing your content, or you guys just more in flow of what kind of comes up?
I mean, I kind of think it's a mixture of both. I think we work on a lot separate and we get our ideas together, but then we come together before we post some of the things, not everything, but some of the things, like the bigger things, maybe videos and events and things like that, will then come together and say, hey, these are my ideas, these are my ideas. And then we just kind of talk it through and then come together. But I mean, for the most part, I don't know. We really do just kind of works out. We already know in our minds. We have the idea of who we each are individually in our personal brands and what we want to portray as Pinnacle, and we just put it out there.
Yeah, you know, I think people would find that amazing because there's not like a strategic content calendar, for example, where, okay, Shawnah, on Tuesday, you're going to do this Thoughtful Tuesday, and Josh, you know, on our team on Thursdays is going to do this, and Stephanie, you own Saturdays. Like, there's none of that. Honestly, I don't know what she's going to post, and you see it when I see it. Like, she just, and there's no rules, there's no restraints. Like, just go do more, do your thing. Because she's going to build her own identity and her own brand, right? And I don't look at that as a conflict, as a like we're butting heads, because again, we're all rowing in the same direction. And there's so much momentum there's no ego involved, right?
Right.
I want these people to become themselves, because once you try to control and manipulate that, it's going to backfire. So, you know, I read a lot of books and do a lot of podcasts. I mean, she does the same, and she portrays, you know, out there, you know, what resonates with her, because
right.
That's the biggest thing, I think, when it comes to this whole social media, social selling. It's not really about us. It's about providing value. It's about giving information to the other. So I've always looked at us in the news feed as a source of information. Yeah. What books are we listening to? What podcasts? What articles are we seeing within the industry, right? What's going on with remote versus in office? What are we seeing from a hiring trend and counter offers and all this stuff? Value, 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 value.
Yep.
You know this, Donnie, and Shawnah knows as well. The more you give, the more you're going to get.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And that, you know, kind of goes into the next thing. So like what you guys are talking about getting is ultimately you guys are getting inbound leads from this effort, right? And I think there's a lot of people that don't think this is really possible in the staffing and recruiting industry. They think everything has to be ground out on the phone, hard work, grunted out. And I'm not saying you don't win on the phone and through relationships, but all your guys' business, if I'm understanding, is coming from this social presence.
Yeah, I mean, I always think it's funny. I think what it is it's a lack of education on really what marketing is. And especially, I mean, as a whole across all industries, but especially in our industry in logistics and freight and transportation, because this is not something that has really been in our industry until like these last few years. Most companies maybe had like one or two people in their marketing team, unless of course you're like the big logos. But I think that it's just truly a lack of understanding of what marketing is. Marketing is different than sales. And then also what you can do within marketing to get those inbound leads, because it's not even just about email campaigns and like things like that. It truly is just putting yourself out there and providing value. And it doesn't really matter how really that you're doing that, as long as you're providing that value. The people will come to you. I mean, I think that was something I was going to touch on with what you had just said about us having our own brand. I think it's important because some of the things that I speak to is going to resonate with a different audience. And so no matter what, we're just helping more people, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you bring that up, because that's exactly where I was going to go with it is, you know, it's laws of attraction and you know, what Brent's going to say is going to resonate, what Shawnah's going to say is going to resonate. And then you guys have, that's why I say you kind of have this 1-2 punch out there. And I know you got Josh starting to dabble with some stuff too that I've seen, you know, and it's you know, it's cool that you guys are all doing that, because it's just another, I always just call it's another fishing pole in the water. How do you catch more fish with more hooks in the water? You know?
And here's the thing, to touch on what Shawnah was just talking about. Look, like trucking, like these companies, I don't know how to market, I don't know how to put ourselves out there. What are they going to show? A truck, a trucking yard, a package going to someone's house? Like, that's not sexy. That's not going to draw people in.
Right.
But if it's in healthcare, are you going to go do a video like through a hospital? Like, okay, cool, we've all been there, seen that. You have to do it through people.
Yep.
Because at the end of the day, Donnie, how many times have you heard me say this? People do business with people they like and trust. Therefore, how do you draw these people in? Because at the end of the day, her goal, my goal is very simple. Mm-hmm. Do they look like somebody I would want to have a 10-minute conversation with? Do they seem cool? Do they know their niche? Are they educated? Are they going to cut to the chase or waste my time? Right? And the way that we portray that is by giving people a glimpse into who we are.
Right.
And that's exactly what she was saying. The way that she does it is going to draw on a different audience maybe than the way I do it.
Right.
Everyone's feeding the machine once again.
Right. How did you guys overcome, and you guys have, you know, 2 people doing this, right? And I know one of the things that always comes up with people that I coach is they always come into the whole thing, well, I don't want to put anything out there that's not valuable, and thinking that every post and every piece of content has to be perfect, rather than just consistently showing up and realizing that some stuff's going to perform great and others isn't. I mean, what do you guys think about that?
Well, so funny thing, one of the posts that my very first post that went completely viral and saw, gosh, like I think it's at like 250 or 300,000 views now, was one that I was wearing literally my Lululemons, a tank top, had no makeup on. Yeah. And it was like kind of even a blurry picture. Like it was just like, it was like a thank you post. So what I could say to people is that just putting yourself out there is enough. Because it's all trial and error. That's all marketing is.
And don't think there's some fancy production behind that. You know what we did? We got in my car. We went out to the avenues where the trucking yards are. I'm like, hey, it's driver appreciation week. Shawnah, let's go stand next to a truck and take some pictures. And then skyrocketed. So don't think there's like some master plan behind this or some or ring lights and all this stuff, man. That was just a straight up, hey, let's just get out there and go. And again, it starts by starting and just putting yourself out there.
Right. Well, I think the big thing you say there is, and you probably don't even realize it at this stage of the game where you're at, Brent, is you trust your intuition and then you go. And Shawnah, it sounds like you've adopted the same type of thing. Same way I go. I don't think about what I'm going to post. I just go with what's there, and then I post it, and I don't worry. I think a lot of people give so much time in this worry of, well, what if somebody doesn't like this, or what if I'm rejected as a result of this, rather than just like, hey, this is me, and me, I'm different. Well, that alone is interesting. That should be interesting enough, right?
And how many times have you heard the quote, paralysis by analysis, right? You start to overanalyze, overthink. And go on LinkedIn right now. There's people that their stuff's going to go on the long form context. There's people that are going to post pictures of themselves. There's people that are going to do these cheesy videos, which drive me insane. But hey, they work, and we can talk about the pod stuff later on. But everyone has their own formula. But if you're not catching up to what's going on out there and not starting and not putting yourself out there, and here's the other thing we've talked about too, Donnie, it doesn't always have to be about you.
Right.
There's so much value that you can provide by commenting out there in a very positive light. If we just even look at LinkedIn, your face, your header, your name is still going to be on there.
Yep.
100%. It doesn't have to be you just, putting yourself out there. Just be active, right? And be engaging and provide value and congratulate people and throw your 2 cents in when it makes sense and all these different things, but you got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you bring up a good point of, for those that are looking to start on something like this, commenting on other people's stuff is a great way, especially if you're commenting on like one of your prospective clients' posts. Want to talk about putting yourself on the radar? I mean, my goodness, it's just the easiest thing to do that people tend to overthink, and leaving thoughtful comments so you don't look like you're coming out of a pod. Hey, great video, nice article. But yeah, I mean, I think that there's so much of a win in the opportunity of just engaging with other people's stuff as a starting point.
And I'll tell you this one thing, and I'm going to have Shawnah speak on this. One thing that she even taught me was, I would do these posts and get all kinds of likes and comments and then just be like, cool, that one worked. She's like, Brent, what are you doing? Why are you not re-engaging? Why are you not commenting on their comments? And Shawnah, tell them about that.
Yeah, so I have, and I apologize to anyone who does know me and listens to me, because sometimes it does take me a little bit to respond, but I do always try to respond because I want everyone to know that I do feel that you are important to me. We never know when we could cross paths again and where we could help each other out in some other area. And there's been times where I've had people reach out to me where I've helped them in areas that I'm not even thinking that I would ever help somebody in, but I whatever I posted resonated with them. So that is something that I had told him, comment back to the people who are reaching out to you, people who are sending you personal messages. I respond to every single personal message that I get through LinkedIn and through anywhere else. Personally, myself, I don't have some other person doing it for me, which maybe one day I might have to have somebody help me with that, because it does get a little crazy sometimes. But, people want to be wanted. And they want to know that you're approachable and that, that they have something of meaning somewhere, right? I think everybody has that feeling inside of them. So, and like I said, I mean, what are you going to lose really by doing that? You take 2 seconds of your day to respond to somebody, and that could have changed their life.
And those are just the people that are actually putting themselves out there. I can't even tell you how many messages we get literally daily. We really like your content, you and the team, you guys are doing great stuff. You guys are sticking out. These aren't people that like and comment in public, right? But they're seeing it behind the scenes, and it's eyeballs and exposure, and they're coming to you. So they might just want to do it privately, and that's cool too. We love it all, right? And here's the reality, Donnie. We're just talking about the wins. We're talking about the people that actually do love us and embrace us. Don't be fooled into thinking that you don't get the hate on the other side, right? But I just don't put energy there. What's the point? Feeding into that, responding to that only eggs them on and makes them think like they win. We don't even play in that world. We love the block feature. Block, move on. I'm not giving you headspace.
I love that. You remember our last interview, right?
Absolutely, man.
We ruffled some feathers the last time around, so we'll stay away from that topic.
Hey, everyone hates a winner, right? So I'll take it all day long.
Yeah, well, we kind of called out some obvious things that people didn't like to hear, so oh well. But yeah, I think you bring up a good point that you're going to have haters when you arrive, and And it kind of comes into like exactly what you're saying, like delete, block, move on. I don't want to give you any of my energy, my time. Yep. I think there's a time and place, like the last time, where, you know, I want to defend myself and at least set the record straight when somebody's trying to slander me, of course. But, you know, I think that is a part of it, but it also, it's roll off the shoulders. You know, there's an abundant amount of people in the world. And for as many people that, you know, hate you, there's 10x more that love you.
Well, and everyone's going to have their own audience, right? Yeah. Like just because it works, what we're saying and what works for us, everyone has to figure out that own formula and how to put themselves out there, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. But again, going back to what you're talking about, it does start by putting yourself out there and figuring that out, because the more that you're just a spectator watching other people, you're getting behind the 8 ball. I mean, everything that we talk about, I tell Shawnah all the time on the team, it's chess, not checkers. We see so many people that turn this into a copycat dynamic. Right. It's flattering to a degree, but at the same time, we're always going to be one step ahead, right? And there's people that I'm watching that don't know I'm watching them to see what they're doing, right? Because I want to follow someone one step ahead of me so that I'm getting ahead of things as well. So you can't get too far behind, because we live in the visual world and you have to get in the game right now.
Yeah, 100%. Speaking of that, I've noticed one of the things, the biggest things I've noticed about your brand this year, Brent, is it looks like you've gone more in on your visual brand, meaning that like it's not just a post, it's now a post with pinnacle growth. And, you know, what have you been doing to kind of try to dial that in? Has that been a Shawnah thing? Has that just been a natural evolvement thing? Or
honestly, I think it just boils down to we each kind of do our own thing. There's no rules. Like I don't need to have a pinnacle logo and everything that we do, because some of this stuff just comes to us so organically.
Yep.
Like I might be running the mountains over here at Pinnacle and a thought comes to my head because I'm listening to a podcast. I'm going to grab my phone out and just film that. You know,
I get late night thoughts where I'll just be like, I can't go to sleep. I have insomnia really bad. And it'll be like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm like, oh, I want to, and I'll just start putting in my notes on my phone. And I'm just sitting there in bed, like, no, type up a post for the next morning.
Yeah, so it's not like she texts me and be like, hey, Brent, can I post this? I'm like, no, we don't even have that conversation. Again, I see it when you see it. So again, when you give freedom to people, if they're doing it from the right reasons, the right methods, the right way, embrace it, let them be themselves, because that's really what branding is.
Right.
You just don't constrain these people, right?
Right.
Well, I think the other thing too is, again, like I had mentioned before, it's all trial and error. So, I mean, sometimes like we had certain videos that we did put a lot of effort into that really didn't perform that well. And then some other ones where it was literally just like a selfie video and it like blew up and got 20,000 views. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to start trying everything. So even, there's an app called Canva, and I think it's like $100 for the year for like unlimited everything. You can do anything you want on this app and it's so inexpensive. And I'm like, I'm not really a creative person, but I'm just going to start trying to do things on my own too, outside of that, and just create things and see if it works. And so far, I mean, not too bad.
Well, and here's the thing too, is like, Donnie, you know, I don't like videos that are edited, too done up, they're choppy and cut. That's why I love doing the live, because I'm like, you can't speak for 30 minutes or an hour just organically. Like, there's a problem there, right? So we have no problem doing this. I actually love and embrace it. But that's the thing too, is that sometimes when we just grab the iPhone and you go outside, like one of the biggest ones I had, that was a real life candidate situation where this company dragged their feet, and I was so fired up. I told the buddy in my office, I'm like, dude, get outside with me right now. I'm going to explode, right? And he's literally walking backwards like deer in headlights, like, oh my God, Brent, you're insane. But that was a 1-minute video where I was just going, right? And that blew up because it's me. That's who I am. That's who I was that day. I had something to get off my chest. It resonated with a lot of people and it skyrocketed. But I didn't even know driving in I was going to do that. So there's not always a method behind it. It's just value, situation. This is me. This is who I am, and let's go.
Yeah. Well, I think you've gotten to the point, and this is where a lot of people want to get to, is like you get to the point where it's like you're out of your own way, so that like when the thought comes, you're not analyzing it to go, is this a right or wrong post? And you know what you're saying, Shawnah, is I always say like good marketers are good testers, period. There's nobody that just knows what their market wants, and anybody that tells you that's full of shit, because that's just not the reality. Like good marketers go out, they test. Right? Yeah, exactly. But it's, you know, in order to test, you have to be able to do what you guys are willing to do, which is like, oh, cool idea, boom, running with it. Not thinking about it, boom, running with it. Realizing that this post isn't going to put me out of business, or this post isn't going to make my business. It's the series of it. It's the continuous showing up, the continued value. That's where people are like, oh yeah, I want to come to them. And that's where you guys get it so right.
And Donnie, you and I have talked about this a lot too, and Shawnah's embraced it as well. When we post, it's not always business stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times, I mean, by now everyone knows my kids. Like, that's what I've loved, like doing the stories lately, because every Wednesday I drop them off, right? So we go and I'm like, all right, girls, like there's going to be some theme here today. These poor little 8 and 5-year-old girls know that, oh my God, I'm with dad today. But you know what? Like, I get so much engagement because that's real life.
Yeah.
You do drop off, I do drop off, she does drop off. Like, we're with these people, we're with these kids. But the other reason that I do that, right? I want to instill that confidence in them.
Yeah.
Right.
I want them to know that, hey, this is kind of who we are as a family, as a
Right.
company, as like, put yourself out there, right? No one should be hiding behind anything. And the earlier I think that they can get used to that and kind of embrace it, I think it's only going to catapult them as well. Like,
Right.
I guarantee at drop off, they go into that classroom with a little swag, and I'm good with that.
Yeah. Well, I think you bring up a good point with the whole personal thing, because I think there's a lot of rules that people live by, and they, oh, well, you know, LinkedIn should be for this type of content. There's no rules on LinkedIn. You can post whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
Same thing with Facebook. It's not, you know, you can post whatever you want. And I posted, one was International Women's Day on Monday. I posted my wife and my 2 daughters. And then Tuesday happened to be my wife or my daughter's birthday. Those are my 2 most engaged posts this week.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things too, going back to people buying people, it's like, well, wow, shoot, Donnie's a family guy. He loves his daughter. He loves his wife. Like, that type of stuff people appreciate when you're buying somebody at the end of who is this person. And I think it's all elements. And I think that's where people get it wrong. Like, well, it has to be business. No, like, share your life.
And you saw, like, Josh and I last week, we had him here in Scottsdale, and him and I just literally went and did like a basketball video, right? But like,
Yep.
Who would know that we have a sick jump shot without showing that, right? And
Yeah.
we made it about, hey, shoot your shot and all this stuff, and kind of have a little fun theme with it. But that's kind of him getting in his comfort zone as well.
Yeah.
Like, he likes hoops, right? So now people know, okay, Josh, I see you. I see how you are. And
Yep.
that might lead to a phone call. That might lead to somebody reaching out to him and be like, dude, I didn't know you hoop. I didn't know you ball. Let's have a
Yep.
call.
Yep.
You don't know what you don't know. Don't assume.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, circling back to kind of another subject you brought up earlier is how people reach out to you behind the scenes. And I think one of the things that's always out there is, you know, when you're looking at your ideal hiring decision maker or even candidate, they may not be the ones engaging. You know, a lot of candidates may not be going and engaging with recruiters. So their current boss can go, what are you doing talking to Brent?
Right.
You know, and on the other side, like, usually your more sophisticated audience is not the person that's liking and commenting on social media. It doesn't mean that they're not watching. It doesn't mean they're not becoming a fan of yours, as you're basically proving right now.
Yep.
And I think it's an important message, because there's so many people out there that are talking about their followers and their views and all that bullshit that doesn't matter. It's true engagement, getting people to, you know, engage with you, reach out to you, and build a connection with you. And I think it's so cool that you guys, like, you know, sharing that story of how it is coming to you, and some of your biggest decision makers aren't the ones that like and comment, but they're still watching.
Listen, I have only, I think, like 21 or 22,000 followers, right, on LinkedIn. I know of these other, I guess, big brand or big marketing individuals who are out there that have 100,000 followers. And I look at the engagement from my posts, just from what you can see, even like on like the likes and the comments. And then I look at the engagement on their posts and I see, I'm like, well, that's interesting. They have 100,000 followers. Why do I have triple and quadruple the amount of engagement? And so that is a very, very good point, because the following count really doesn't matter. It really, what it comes down to time and time again is, what is the value that you're putting out there?
Yep.
What are other people resonating with? And not necessarily how many people just clicked follow to follow you.
Well,
Right.
and I was put on a podcast lately where that's what kind of stuck out to the one individual who interviewed me. He's like, you know what blows my mind? He goes, everyone that engages on your stuff is like your target audience. Like, those are the people you want to get in front of. And I'm like, yeah, I know. Like, that's the strategy there. Because he goes, some people just like put out the stuff, and it's like a data scientist in India may respond, or just like people that have no symmetries in their niche, in their industry. And Donnie, riches in the niches, right? You
Yep.
got to dominate your space and kind of like run and swim in your lane, like own that, right? And so I think that's the best thing that we've done is, we get a lot of freight people. Like, it's hard now for people not to know who we are. That extends out to other industries and other things as well. But as far as like our niche and what we do goes, you got to be the people. You got to be the go-to sources.
Yep. Well, now with all the tools available, it's so much easier for us to be able to do what we're both doing. You know, I'm obviously in a different industry, but same industry. But, you know, I mean, it's the same thing, is continuing to show up to your audience, building a following, if you will, and adding value to that set of people over and over and over again. Carrie just she commented on this, and she's posting her dog now after she heard it.
That's going to resonate with somebody. So I guess somebody has that same dog, and they're going to be like, "Oh my gosh, I saw you out here," and like it can lead to a conversation. That's all it is.
My best video post still to this day, outside of calling out all the creepers and ridiculous comments, outside of that one, my best post was in my kitchen. And it was, I had a really crazy week, and it was talking about being a single mom and transitioning to working from home and having your child at home. And that was, I think I got like almost 20,000 views on that video. And it was very early on. This was like this time last year, one of my very first videos even that I did.
Right. It's real. It's real. People love that.
In one take. Like, don't think like there's this, again, a big production studio going on.
Now, I will say, because a lot of people say that, there's either people who are very for vanity metrics or not for vanity metrics. I think that, I don't think it's necessarily like all about vanity metrics, but it is good to pay attention to the things that if you're consistently seeing certain things performing better than others, then obviously that's where your audience is resonating. So of course, continue to have those types of posts, right? So I think vanity metrics is important to that degree, but not like, you don't need to base every single thing you do around those metrics.
No, there's some stuff that I post and I'm like, that's cool to me. Like if someone else grabs it, that's cool. But at the time I was feeling it, right? Maybe I went to an event and I was like, hey, this is awesome. But again, I just don't have really any judgment as far as that goes. I'm just doing myself. She puts out what puts out, and someone's going to gravitate towards it.
If we can have one person with one post, then I feel like I did my job.
Right. Well, a lot of it goes back into that paralysis by analysis thing and the stories in our head, about what somebody's going to say. And you brought up a good point earlier, Brent, that like sometimes, and I do this all the time, it's like you work on a post and you're like, ooh, this is going to be fire. You put that thing out there, nobody hears it. Nobody responds to it. And then you go whip something up in 30 seconds and like everybody's all over it.
Yeah, and here's the other thing too is I think that people should start to embrace, like, look, if they're not comfortable putting themselves out there in a video on LinkedIn, right? Or like just actually putting pictures of themselves. Some of the coolest posts that I've done are like the stories, right? Instagram has the stories, LinkedIn has the stories. I've literally just on a weekend at 4 or 5 in the morning, showed myself walking into my office, unlocking my door. Hey, I'm out here grinding. I'm out here hustling. When I'm driving, maybe I'm playing in the background the podcast I'm listening to. I listen to a lot of Les Brown motivational stuff, right? So it's just giving people a day in the life. Like, this is who we are. This is what I do. I work out every morning at 5:15. She goes and loves to do hiking and like some other, stuff that she does. It just gives people a taste of who you are. That's going to draw people in too.
There's a reason that YouTube is YouTube, right? And that vloggers are millionaires with these houses, and you have kids who are opening presents and gifts and toys and all these things, and they're getting all these views because people are in, like, even if you don't think that you're interesting, like there are people out there who are interested in knowing what does everyone else do in the world? Like, am I like everyone else? And so like believe it or not, like there are people who are interested, or they would not be millionaires from opening toys.
Yeah, Donnie. Like, Donnie, do you ever have your kids watch like other kids like play games or like stuff? I'm like, go outside and play. Don't watch this kid on YouTube play. Like, but it's the same thing. Like, it's just giving people a glimpse into who you are, your daily activity, your daily routine, working out, dropping kids off, reading books. Just share. But again, it's not the Instagram, look at me on this jet and this Ferrari.
Bikini.
Yeah, like no one has. There's a platform and a time and a place for that.
Right.
But if you're doing it from the right reasons to give value, give people a glimpse into who you are, what you're reading, what you're listening to, that's going to reciprocate.
Yep. Well, it's funny you bring that up because I posted a couple months back. I just moved in the middle of COVID. Kind of moved into my first dream home, we'll call it, because I'm on a grind. But new killer house. Posted a picture of my pool and my backyard and stuff. And I posted it in a tasteful way, like about this is something I've always dreamed about. This is something that, and hey, keep on to your dreams. These things can happen. It was kind of a motivational thing. Somebody booked a call and she told me while we were on the call, she's like, I moved forward with you because I saw that. I wanted the backyard like that. I want to work with you. So you have no idea how something is going to impact somebody, as long as you're putting a good piece of value onto it.
For sure. And people should, like, from a recruiting standpoint, people should want to work with producers.
Right.
I don't want to work with some scrub who's just moving a couple people here and there. Like I want to work with the big dogs. I want people that are dialed into their industry, know everyone out there, because what they're going to do if I'm a candidate, they're going to make my process simple.
Right.
They know everyone. They're dialed in. They control things via text. They can send one message and get someone in the door, right? I don't want to work with somebody who's not known, who doesn't have that pull and that power.
Right.
I want to work with the best of the best.
Right.
Because if I'm a candidate and I put myself in that category, hold my hand and let's go.
I know personal development for you, Brent, is something that's big. I know you just got back from a retreat of some sort, it looked like, and a mastermind of some sort. You know, what are you kind of currently working on with your personal development? What are you kind of after right now?
You know, Shawnah and the team have grown so much that it's allowed me as kind of a business owner to work more on the business and not in the business. That's a huge thing, right? Because I was always early on that high producer, like just dialed in, right? But now I'm kind of embracing more of like the leadership dynamic of things.
Yeah.
So because the reality is, like anything, they're going to go as I go, right? So if I'm got these big goals and big visions, and sometimes I used to think in the past, they'd be like, man, you're crazy. Now, if I say something, do you not believe it?
Well, I almost now feel like the goals that I had, even at the beginning of this year already, I'm like, like that's kind of too small. I think
like, let's go. Like we think big, but we do big as well. So that's my job as like the business owner, is like these individuals have to know that their goals, their dreams can fit into this umbrella that we all play in.
Right.
And so it's my job to become the best, to make sure we work with the best, to make sure that I'm rowing us in the right direction, that everyone's going to win. Because that's a big thing for me now, Donnie, is like, I want them to win so bad. Like, don't you remember the Jordan Last Dance where he said, hey, I pushed these people and I wasn't for everybody, but it's because I wanted them to taste that success.
Right.
You took a bet on me. I'm going to take a bet on you. Let's go all pop the champagne and let's go all win. So from a leader standpoint, like I embrace that. I want them to win so bad that in turn, if they win, who's going to win?
Yep. You're winning too.
Go with me because we're going that way.
Yep.
So I've really embraced this whole leadership dynamic.
So Shawnah, how do you handle this guy?
I mean, honestly, like, I don't know. We really are. We're like a yin and yang. I think that I feed off of other people's energy. I always have said that I'm very intuitive to the energy of others. And so being around him has actually brought out that side of me even more, to where now I am like, all right, well, who else can I bring along with me now? I can get them on this train so we can all go places. Like, let's go.
Right.
I mean, that's really, if you break it down, what sales and recruiting is, it's an exchange of energy, right? So as a leader, as a recruiter, you have to bring that every single day. It has to be authentic in who you are. But how, Donnie, can you imagine getting on a phone with me for 10 minutes and me being very mediocre, very calm, no, man, that's not me, right? My job is, Donnie, let's go. This is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Do you trust me? Yes. Get on the train and let's do this, right?
Right.
That's what you have to do from a leading standpoint, from a recruiting standpoint. And you have to know your stuff so well that people are like, God darn, how can I not trust this guy?
Right.
Or gal.
But I think the big thing too, Brent, and you're not really saying it, but the way I look at it is like, your business and your success is not so much of the tactic or the strategy. It's who you're becoming as an individual.
100%.
Right? Who you're stepping into as a leader, who you're stepping into as a producer of social media, who you are in terms of actually doing the recruiting, and who you're being as a person is really where it's at. If you want to change, you want to grow, like change the individual inside and grow the individual inside, and everything else follows.
Well, I think what you're doing is become like, there's a great new book by Ryan Serhant called Big Money Energy.
Okay.
And what he's talking about is, his podcast is amazing too, but what he's talking about is there's certain people that walk into a room and they have an aura, right?
Right.
You're like, God, I don't know what it is about that person, but I'm gravitating towards them. I want to go engage with them. I want to see what they're doing. And that's the same thing how I look at us. Like, we're putting out such a dynamic aura around us that it's going to be hard for people to be like, God, I just want to talk to you. I don't know what you're doing, but I feel like I want to, or I need to, or, Shawnah, what's going on in your world? Josh, what are you doing out there? Stephanie, like, I don't know. I just want a piece of the action. That's what we're doing.
Hate you, love you. They're going to know you.
Yeah. Cardone 101. That's it, man.
Yep. That's awesome, guys. So just kind of as we wrap things up here, Shawn, I'm going to start with you. I mean, what are you most excited about as you guys continue to move forward in 2021 and just the future of the business?
Man, I am my number one thing for me is how many people we get to help this year. And I really do mean that, because our industry we've never seen anything like we have experienced this year. I mean, the logistics industry has exploded, really. And this is on all fronts, whether that's from the tightness of capacity, whether that's just people trying to move people around and get more people, and the growth of different businesses. Like, it's just unlike anything anyone's ever seen before. And that is so awesome for us, because we have helped more people, like Brent said, just this quarter than, gosh, like in all of the years that he has had his business. And so that is truly what excites me the most. But I am also excited about getting into a few other things through the social media channels. We're not going to really mention too much of the details yet, but we have some other things brewing that we're really excited about too.
Awesome. How about you, Brent? What are you fired up about, man?
You know, I still find so much value in helping people. I mean, it really is true. Like, when you get these testimonials, when you get these texts, when you know that you open doors that people would not have done on their own. I mean, there's an individual that I just helped in Denver that was really affected during COVID, right? And he was just not having success, could not do this on his own capacity. And he's like, man, if you can just get me 65, I'm like, that's not how I roll. Let's go chase some big bucks, right? Got the guy 80. You don't think that guy loves me now? You don't know that this guy told his family, man, this guy bailed us out. This guy got us in a good situation. I know he's a good dude. It was just a bad situation he got put in. I find immense joy in that. Right?
Yeah.
I find immense joy in anytime someone's going to give us a testimonial, a referral, because you know this too, Donnie. You're not going to put your name behind many people or things.
Yeah.
Right.
Unless you truly, truly believe it, right?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not asking you who your even if I don't care if it's a landscaper, a barber, a babysitter. I want to be that recruiter. Talk to this person, talk to her. They'll take care of you. They'll do things the right way. They have ethics. They have morals. That's where I still find joy, is it spreading what we do to as many people as possible. The sky's the limit. It's endless.
Right. Well, what you guys are, your brand is allowing for you guys to create the impact that you want to have on people's lives. And that's what makes it all for you guys worth it. Right. You guys are impacting people's lives, changing lives. And, you know, I think that if there was more people in the industry that approach the way that you guys do, we could probably eliminate some of the bad reputation of the recruiting industry, of those just putting bodies in seats and turn them and burn them and things like that. It's, you know, when people are truly trying to make an impact on others' lives, it's amazing what can happen, you know.
And listen, we're not going to be able to help everyone, and I know that's something that I have struggled with. I think most is that we work very strategic. We're not a placement firm. So we don't just have, 8,000 different roles with all of these different companies, and from this type of role to this type of role. We do have very specific areas that we play. And so that's, I think, the hardest part for me, is when I have individuals who come to me where I've never even worked on a role necessarily that they would fit into with their skill set. And so I try as hard as I can then to provide value in another way. Can I help you with your LinkedIn? Can I get you in touch with maybe another recruiter that I know in that area? Like, is there anything else that I can do to help you? Even just a conversation. I think there's a couple guys that I've helped now negotiate their salary and stuff. And it was like a role that was like someone's supply chain role on the customer side. I helped them negotiate their salary. And I'm like, hey, like, that works for me. If I can help you still, do something great for your life, then that's it for me.
Yeah. I don't even like the word recruiter. I like connector. Just connecting. Yeah. We're just opening doors, connecting the dots, helping people out, right? The more you give, the more you're going to get. Do more than what you're paid for sometimes, and do introductions. I don't have split agreements with other recruiters, but I know they play in different sectors. I'll just send them a lead. Like, I don't want anything in return. It's going to come back to me in another way anyways, right? So I don't have that ego, and I don't play in that world, because again, the more people you help, the more it's going to come back to you. So just get the, oh my God, I need a commission check so bad mentality out of there, and just always do the right thing. Have the right attitude behind this game.
100%. In fact, I mean, that's, when we first started talking, right before we were even doing podcasts, you and I had a couple of calls where I was sharing some ideas and strategy. Next thing you know, you referred Vince over to me. Yeah. Vince is in my program right now. It's all reciprocity. All works. He's a badass, by the way. Thank you. Yep. But I mean, yeah, man, it's just, when you're playing the bigger picture, there's just so much out there, and there's so much abundance in this world. There's, and I think a lot of people really, and I struggled with this for a long time, of that scarcity. Even like when you understand the concepts of scarcity versus, abundance, you can still live in scarcity even when you understand the concept. And, you know, it's really understanding that like there's plenty to go around. And when you open that up to the universe, it really comes to you.
Well, and you and I talked about this before too. The reason that, look, recruiting is hard. I tell Shawnah all the time, I think we make it look a lot easier than it is.
Yeah.
Don't get naive to the fact that everyone deals with the same stuff.
Yeah.
Counter offers, missed interviews, chasing checks, you name it, we've experienced it, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that people get so emotional and they get so frustrated is because they simply don't have enough in the hopper. Their pipeline's not thick enough. Yeah. So when you only have 2 things cooking, you need those deals so bad, right? That maybe you try to push something through or push something. But if you have enough going on at all times, I tell her, Shawnah, what's the magic number that you want to have at all times going?
At least 10, at least at all times.
Because that 10 can go to 4 like that.
And it can.
Right. You know, and so again, that's the one thing that if I can express that to anyone is do more calls, more emails, more text, more activity, work on yourself more. It's a carousel that's just going to keep going around.
Well, and that's important again of why it's so like you need to be on these social media platforms. And it doesn't necessarily have to be LinkedIn. It can be whatever platform it is that you feel like you are doing the best on or most comfortable at, and whatever type of post that you feel most comfortable with, stick to that, start there, and then grow it from there. But if you're not doing that, you're very limited on what you can accomplish and who you can help.
Well, and here's the thing too, Donnie. I mean, I know exactly what you do, and I know there's immense value in it. These people, you control what you put out.
Yeah.
It's not like people are just taking candid photos of you and you got this crazy double chin. And I don't like this angle or the lighting or whatever. Like, dude, you control it. If you don't like it, delete it, move on to the next one. Like, you have to understand that when you control that narrative and that dynamic, what's holding you back?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Shoot, guys, this was really good. This was really fun. I really appreciate all the energy, all the value you guys dropped today and sharing your story, your journey. You know, for those of you that are listening, make sure that you go check out Brent and Shawnah on LinkedIn. Brent Orsuga, Shawnah Kucken, is it Kucken? Perfect. Awesome. So go follow them. Guys, any last thoughts you want to leave everybody with?
We got some stuff coming. We got some stuff in the works. So again, I always play chess, not checkers. So I think there's going to be some things that are coming up that if anything, I will tell everyone, just follow what we do. Just copy us. Like it's working. There's a proof of concept. You know, they call R&D research and development. You know what it really stands for? Rip off and duplicate. Yeah. Follow people, see what they're doing and go. Like don't overthink.
Yep. Love it, guys. Thank you very much. Shawnah, anything before we close out? Are you good?
No, I'm good. Thank you.